Okay, let's now discuss the pricing of forward rate agreements. We will actually do this from the end to the beginning, meaning we will start by looking at the forward rate agreement that already exists and determine the value of the contract. Okay? And then we will use this result to go back to the beginning of the contract and see how we can determine the rate, the fixed rate that we should write in the contract. Okay, so let's start by determining the value of an existing contract. Okay, so first at time 0, when we start the contract has a price of 0, meaning that there are no payments being exchanged at time 0. Okay, but we are no longer at that moment. Time has already moved forward, so we are after 1 month or 2 months or whatever from that initial moment, and later on, at that 1 or 2 months after that, the contract may have a price different from 0. Okay, it may be negative or it may be positive, but the point is that it no longer needs to be 0. Okay, and the reason for that is interest rates in the market have moved since the 2 or 3 months ago when it was started, and something that was worth 0 in the beginning may now have a price that is not 0 anymore. Okay, so let's see exactly how we determine that price. So this is the formula for the value of a contract. This is a bit dry, a formula, so let me try to give you the intuition. So there's an old saying which is, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Okay, this is not really a nail, but it's the closest thing I have here. So in this course, we have 2 hammers. We have a fixed rate bond, and we have a second hammer, which is a floating rate bond. So everything here in this course will either have to look like a fixed rate bond or a floating rate bond. Okay, so let's go back to this example. So let's continue the previous example we were doing, and let's think that 5 months have passed, and now the rates I observe in the market are these rates here. These are the LIBOR rates for 1 month and for 4 months. Okay, I am actually changing the way the rates we would typically quoted, because I am converting what I observe in the market to continuous compounding. Okay, but that's okay. I just have to be careful with the way I discount. It does not have any important effect. Okay, so let's compute the value of the forward contract at that moment, 5 months after it has started. Right, and I will have to be careful with which side I'm computing the value to. So let's say I want to compute the value of the contract to the firm. Right, so let's go to the timeline here. So once again, we started the contract here. Let's call this time 0. At that moment we agreed on a forward rate for 6 months from then, for a period that lasted 3 months, of 2%. At this moment here, neither the firm nor the bank paid anything. That is by definition of the contract. It's always like that. But then we entered into the contract and time moved forward. Now today we are here, 5 months after the beginning of the contract here, and over this period interest rates will have changed in the market. Okay, so the contract which had a value of 0 at the beginning, now will have a value that does not need to be 0, and that's what we want to determine. Okay, what is the problem? What is hard here is that here we will have a contract whose value, the settlement is here, the value will depend on the LIBOR that will be on the market at this moment here. Okay, and as of today I have no way of knowing what will be that LIBOR. Okay, so if this was some fixed payment, it would be easy to price, just the present value of whatever that payment is. But since this payment is not known, I cannot just discount cash flows in a naive way, right? So that's where our tools come in. Again, our 2 hammers are a fixed and a floating rate bond. Okay, so let's make this look like a floating rate bond. Well, what can I do? Well, first, we discussed these two settlement alternatives, and as we have seen, it does not matter whether settlement is at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period. I just change the way I discount the settlement value. Okay, so let's assume that settlement is at the end of the period here. Okay, so I would pay the rate here at the end. Okay, which would be the natural thing for a 3-month LIBOR defined at the beginning of the period here. Okay. Well, this does not look exactly. Oh, sorry. By the way, I would pay the rate, the 3-month LIBOR, divided by the compounding frequency. We did in this case it's 4. Okay. All right. So this is random. I still don't know this rate, so I have to make this look like a floating rate bond. Well, this is not exactly like a floating rate bond because the floating rate bond would also pay principal. So let's put the principal here. If I put the principal here, I also need to compensate by putting the principal on the other leg, on the fixed leg, okay? And if I do that, these two principals cancel each other out, and I'm fine. I'm back to where I was. So I can do this if I do it on both legs. All right, so now this looks exactly like a floating rate bond. And I know that the floating rate bond is worth 100% at the reset date, right? That was the first argument we did when we talked about floating rate bonds. So the value of this leg is 100% at this moment. Well, but I don't want the value at time at this moment at 6/12. I want the value today. But okay, this now it's a fixed cash flow. I just need to discount it from here to here at whatever is the spot rate between these two moments. All right. The other leg is just a plain fixed rate bond, right? This is a 0 coupon bond. 1 plus this fixed rate, which is defined, is 2%. So I just take this whole amount and discount it at the spot rate to today, right? So now I just need to put in the numbers. And again, be careful with the side of the contract. So I am computing the value to the firm, and the firm enters the contract as the fixed receiver, right? So this leg, that is the fixed leg, is being received, so it's a plus, and this is being paid, so it's a minus, right? So let's do this. It's 10 million, it's the notional. Again, with a plus sign, the fixed leg, which is 2%, and discounted from here to here at the spot rate, which is given in the in the handout at 4% with continuous compounding. Okay, and then I pay the floating leg, which is 100% or 1 at 1 month from now, and this is the spot rate, 3% from now and 1 month. So doing these calculations, I get minus $58,142, right? So if I'm computing the value to the firm, and I get the minus here, it means that it is actually a liability to the firm, right? So if the firm wants to terminate the contract now, for some reason the firm does no longer need the hedge, it wants to stop the trade here rather than wait until the actual settlement date. So if it wants to terminate right now, the fair amount of money that the firm needs to pay to the bank is this.